Hi there. I am Christine Kidder Graves, Executive Career Coach, helping you to have work that works for you. And today's LinkedIn Live, I'm really excited about it. It is to get clear, how to get clear on your unique brand and to get seen by decision makers, because that's the problem right now. You are missing out on opportunities for to be found for those opportunities that you really want. Do you think that your LinkedIn profile is really communicating what you needed to communicate to be found for those opportunities? So it's all about having a profile that is reaching the people that you want to reach. But you've got to first be clear on your brand and communicate it. If you're not clear on it, you're not going to be able to communicate it. And therefore, you're not going to get seen by the people that you want to find you. So that's what I'm talking about today. I'm going to give you my 3 tips on how you can get clear on your unique brand, and then how that translates in your LinkedIn profile. So let me just get right to it then. And that way I can tell you, and I think I already did give you, maybe I didn't. I was supposed to give you the first tip in the notes, but it looks like now that I'm reviewing the notes in the actual post, I didn't. So I'm just going to get right to that. So the number one thing is to think about your accomplishments. What are your accomplishments that you are most proud of in your career so far? Would you love to share about those? And they should be in the form of a story too, because the power of story is something that we really need to fully leverage. Story does so many things. The power of story differentiates you from other executives, from other leaders. It also makes you sticky and memorable. Because again, there's no other person out there like you. There's only one you. And we need to know, what is it that makes you. So it's really important to share your stories, your accomplishments with others, but they should be in the form of a story. And again, it does make you sticky, and it helps you to differentiate yourself. And lastly, the power of story helps you to connect with others, because often people can see, we're always looking for common ground. Like what do we have in common with each other? And by you sharing your story, you may be sharing some common ground with me. And that's a way that we can connect. So that's why those accomplishments are very, very important. So you really need to be clear on what your 3 accomplishments are, and they are the foundation of your unique brand. And of course, if you have more than 3, that's great. It's just, we don't want to overwhelm people either, and we don't want to provide too much. 3 can typically be the magic number when we are sharing information. So I would say focus on 3. That can be the sweet spot. So get clear on those accomplishments, and then you want to be clear on, how those translate in making you a fit for that next ideal role that you're seeking. So you should be clear on, or at least somewhat clear. If you rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd really like you to be at least an 8 or a 9. And often when I'm coaching my clients, if they're not at an 8 or 9, we're going to work together to get their clarity higher, because ideally we need to shoot for that perfect 10. We want you to have as crystal clear clarity as possible on your brand, and also to what you're targeting, because that really impacts your career. So we need to work on that. So how do you get clear on what it is that you're targeting? Well, if you haven't been looking at like Indeed or LinkedIn or Glassdoor or Career Builder, go on those sites and try to identify a couple roles that you feel are a good description of what your ideal role would be, that next step for you. Okay. So have that identified. And then look at the keywords in that, and then look at how does that connect with your accomplishments? Like, how are there similarities there? What are the parallels between what the work you've done, your accomplishments that you're most proud of, and that ideal role? Because that's really going to help you highlight your accomplishments in your LinkedIn profile. Because again, ideally, you would want a recruiter, you take that ideal role, and you want the recruiter or the hiring manager for that position to find you easily on LinkedIn. But again, they're not going to find you unless you have those things in your LinkedIn profile. So where do you put them? Where do you put your accomplishments? The main place that you can really highlight them in is in your about section. Your about section, the way I define it is that's where you're sharing your brand story. Okay. You know, what makes you unique and different from other leaders, from other executives? And, you know, what are your lessons learned? What's your superpower? You know, just again, telling me what differentiates you from other people. We do have a limit on that. LinkedIn only gives us so much space, but it's a good amount of space that they do give us in the about section. So you want to make sure that you're making it easy to read and that you're being really direct and you're putting that front and center. It's not buried in the about section, because you have to put yourself in your audience's shoes too. Recruiters and hiring managers are extremely busy. Yes, they have an opening that they have to fill, but they're doing that while they're trying to do their main job, which is takes up most of their time. So their time is really short. So picture the reader of your profile as someone who's extremely busy. They've got multiple things going on. You can even picture them like standing on a street corner, holding their cell phone, trying to have a conversation and trying to wave a cab at the same time and trying to do all this multitasking at the same time. So if you picture them that way, then you get it, that you really have to make your LinkedIn profile as easy to digest as possible, especially your about section. Okay. You may also be able to highlight your accomplishments too in your experience section, because that is also searchable by recruiters and by hiring managers. So if you can have accomplishments like at each one of your positions that you've had, at least one accomplishment at that company that you are most proud of. What do you feel was like the highlight of your work experience at that company? So if you could have that highlighted in the experience section, that would be good. So that's another way to leverage that section. You have your brand shine through. And then in your headline, now granted, the headline is short. We could probably put about 2 to 3 sentences. I mean, LinkedIn does give us a good amount of room for that. In fact, if you were to look at my profile, I mean, I have a lot of information in my headline to summarize my brand. So I want to make sure that you are taking advantage of all that space that LinkedIn gives you for your headline. So make sure that you do that. And you could touch upon the accomplishment that you're most proud of in that headline. That's really possible. It's really, what you want to communicate in your brand to people. So I would say that's the number one tip, is to make sure you're clear on communicating your accomplishments, because they're the foundation of your brand. And it really helps, again, for decision makers to see you on LinkedIn and, to really get to know you more by looking at your profile. Okay, so that was tip 1. For more information to really help you leverage your accomplishments that you're most proud of and make the most of them, I do have a Star Stories worksheet that you can use. I believe I have it on my website. And then I thought I had it in my featured section as well of my LinkedIn profile. But you should use that worksheet, because it will really help you to get your accomplishments more into a story, an easy to digest story format. So you could use them in future interviews for your LinkedIn profile and your resume, but it takes you through the basic exercise, my STAR exercise, to help you to communicate your accomplishments. So you can use that. Going forward too, if you have a hard time pulling out your accomplishments, you're struggling with that, start an accomplishment journal today and use it on a daily basis. If you could just put one entry in your accomplishment journal, that would be something, okay? Or you could do it on a weekly basis, but just make sure that you stick to that consistent habit, daily or weekly. I think daily is better. And if you just put one in, that's fine. But this is an accomplishment journal that you can use to record your accomplishments, large and small. And especially if you're using it on a daily basis, it may be, small progress on projects, but that will help you when it comes time to update your LinkedIn profile, update your resume. And they always should be updated. Like, I recommend you updating your LinkedIn profile on a monthly basis. And you could easily do that with your resume too, as long as you have that accomplishment journal to fall back on. And then the other benefit of keeping an accomplishment journal, since I brought it up, is it really helps to combat imposter syndrome, because we all fall prey to that sometimes. And it's a great tool. If you just pull up your accomplishment journal and you look at it, can really help you to fight that imposter syndrome. Okay, so my other 2 tips for you to really help you get clear on your unique brand is, I think it's good to periodically do this and to do an assessment. Now, there's all sorts of assessments out there, and you might have done a bunch of them through the different employers that you've worked at. The StrengthsFinder assessment is the one that I recommend, because I think it's simple to use for everyone to use, and no matter what the function that you work in. Because as a former HR leader, I want a tool that everyone can understand and use, not just HR people. Okay, so that's what I like about the StrengthsFinder tool, is that it's powerful and simple and easy to use. It won't go so far as telling you like what jobs you should do, but it does tell you what your strengths are, and it gives you really good detail on them. And I think that if you're at the executive level, you should pretty much get the information that it's giving you and how it translates to your work experience. So it's an awesome tool, but I think we should need to take it periodically in our career, because you are not the same person that you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, even a year ago, or 6 months ago. And it's good to see how you've evolved and changed. It's a good data point to have, and it will help you in refreshing your LinkedIn profile and updating your resume, and also getting clear on what that next step is for you. Because again, remember I said, it's not just being clear on your brand. And the StrengthsFinder assessment does give you really helps you a lot with your clarity on your brand, but also to getting clear on what you're targeting. How do you want to use those strengths going forward? So that's why I like it so much, and I recommend it for you. My third tip for you to get brand clarity is really to think about the adjectives that describe you. And you can ask, and I've mentioned this in past posts and other trainings that I've done, is think about the 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life. Ask them for 5 adjectives that describe you. And yes, you can have some people from your personal life. Have a blend of people from your personal life, and then I'm sure you have at least one person from work, like maybe your boss that you spend a lot of time with, and let them know that you are doing this exercise. It's just be straightforward with them. Let them know that you're trying to get clear on your brand for the work that you do and who you are, And they'd really be helping you by, giving you 5 adjectives that they feel describe you the best. And so give people a couple days to do that. And then when you look at the results, think about, okay, how can I use this in describing myself in my LinkedIn profile? I think those adjectives will help you too, especially in your LinkedIn headline, because we need to leverage adjectives, but in the headline especially, okay? I'm not discounting the about section because you can put them in there and also in your experience section, but the headline is at the top of your profile, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of your profile. Because if you come up in a search, someone will click on your name. And if they're on their desktop or even on their phone, they're just going to see the top part of your profile. And if you don't grab them right then and there, they're not going to read the rest of your profile. So you need to use adjectives that are unique to you. Do not use adjectives that are overused. We all see them on LinkedIn. Team player, great work ethic, disciplined. Use unique adjectives that you feel are unique, and use a thesaurus. You can do it some of you may not know what a thesaurus is. But use a thesaurus. It's a great tool, or use ChatGPT. If you have a bunch of adjectives that you feel are overused, that you've gathered from the 5 people, go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT for synonyms for those adjectives, and just keep on asking ChatGPT until it gives you some adjectives that you feel are the best ones for you. So you can do that. So those are my 3 tips for you to get clear on your brand. Because again, if you're not clear on your brand, then how are you supposed to have a LinkedIn profile that is clearly communicating your brand? And if it's not clearly communicating your brand, you're not going to be found by recruiters or by the decision makers, by the hiring managers that are on LinkedIn that are looking for you. You are missing out on amazing opportunities. They do exist, but you're missing out on those because those recruiters and hiring managers, decision makers, they cannot find you because your LinkedIn profile isn't telling your story as it should. And it needs to tell your story. That's really important. And the key places that you communicate your story. Sorry, my earbuds are driving me a little nuts. The key places in your LinkedIn profile where you communicate your story are your headline, your about section, that's your brand story, and your experience. And all 3 of those are searchable. So they are all searchable. And, if I'm a recruiter, I'm on LinkedIn, those keywords are going to pull you up in my search. Now, I don't want to discount. It's still very important that you have a profile photo that you feel communicates the brand that you want to communicate. Okay. That's like a special mention. It shouldn't be denied. If you don't have a profile photo, please get a professional profile photo as soon as possible. If you're not sure of your profile photo, you can always go to the website photofeeler.com. You don't have to pay. I mean, they do have some paid services, but I believe you can still use that website to submit your photo there and get feedback on your LinkedIn profile photo for free. So people will tell you your photo communicates that you're knowledgeable, that you're approachable, different things. What is it that you want to communicate? So pay attention to your profile photo. Also pay attention to the LinkedIn banner photo, because that is very important as well. That communicates your brand. We shouldn't discount the photos in our profile, in our LinkedIn profile. They may not be searchable per se, but they do make an impression, because if you come up in my search, I'm a recruiter running a search on LinkedIn, and you have a goofy profile photo or a goofy banner photo, or you don't have photos for that, then I'm probably going to go on to the next person, because it'll look like you haven't been on LinkedIn and you haven't updated your profile in a while, and it doesn't really make a good impression. So those are the things for you to focus on. I am doing a master class next Friday. Well, it's a very short master class. It's more like a webinar, really. It's only going to be 45 minutes long, but it's about a lot more, because this is very short. This is only like 20 minutes, and we're going to take about 45 minutes. So if you really feel you need help with your LinkedIn profile, or maybe it's just time to update it, your LinkedIn profile needs to be SEO, search engine optimized. So let me help you search engine optimize, because if it's not, you are missing out on really great opportunities. And even if you're very happy where you're at right now, what if an awesome role comes up? Don't you want someone to reach out to you about that opportunity? I know I would. So, because that could be the next best challenge for you. But you won't know, they won't find you unless your profile is SEO. So, anyway, you're invited. It's next Friday, June 2nd. I believe it's going to be at 9 a.m. in the morning, or maybe even 8:30, but we're going to try to make it earlier, just to make it more accessible. So that's it. Please give us your comments, what you think about this, if you found this helpful. And yeah, look for our training next Friday, June 2nd. You definitely want to attend. So we should be we'll put the link for that in the comments for you. Right. And have a great day. Thanks so much.